Welcome back to today's podcast. I'm Sarah Smith, and in this episode, we will be discussing the Big Bang Theory and the science behind the creation and the continuous expansion of the universe. To start, I'm going to explain what the Big Bang Theory is. The Big Bang Theory is seen as an explanation of how the universe was created or born. It suggests that the universe began as a singular point, and it has stretched and grown since then to be where it is now. This theory was formed when Edwin Hubble noticed that the galaxies existing outside of the Milky Way were rushing away from Earth. He was able to see this by looking at the light that the galaxies were giving off. This is known as redshift. When an object moves away from you, its light is shifted to the red end of the spectrum. This stretches its wavelength. Think about when you hear a big truck coming up next to your car on the highway. It's louder as it's approaching, and it fades away as it recedes away from you. This is because of its wavelength. The wavelength reaches your ear in shorter wavelengths as it is approaching and longer wavelengths as it recedes away from you. By measuring the redshift, we have been able to track the expansion of the universe. We can see how far objects and galaxies are from our galaxy, and we can see if they're moving away and at what rate. After the initial Big Bang, what was now the universe began to cool off. When the universe was about 3 minutes old, the protons and neutrons that had been created were able to form nuclei, a time known as nucleosynthesis. Hydrogen was the very first element to be formed. It was only its nuclei, but it was the very first one. Then those hydrogen nuclei were fused together using nuclear fusion into helium. At the same time, trace amounts of lithium and beryllium were also formed. After the universe had cooled enough to form atoms, the full elements were created. And these are what make up most of our universe. Hydrogen makes up about 74%, and helium makes up about 25%. This is almost a 3-to-1 ratio. The echoes from these first atoms are still seen today in cosmic background radiation. This is basically the remnants of the first few stages of the universe, and hearing it, understanding it, analyzing it helped to prove the Big Bang Theory, and it truly convinced people that this is what really happened. So now we have hydrogen and we have helium and a few other light elements. However, there are over 80 more natural elements, and how were these formed? Basically, the nuclear fusion of hydrogen into helium is what creates stars, like the sun. After the hydrogen in the star's core is exhausted, the star can start to burn helium in order to progressively form heavier elements. It starts out forming carbon and oxygen and so on until iron and nickel are formed. These processes release energy along with the creation of the elements. The heavier elements only make up about 1% of our universe. So just to recap, the Big Bang is a theory that states that our universe started as a single point and it has slowly expanded. We've used redshift and cosmic microwave background radiation to prove that the Big Bang Theory really happened. The first elements created were hydrogen and helium, and these gave way to the creation of others. The sources I used to create this podcast include spaceplace.nasa.gov, Live Science, space.com, and helios.gsfc.nasa.gov. Thank you for listening.